In the fast-paced world of today's marketplace, are you looking at your business and wondering, what will it take to get known and drive traffic? This is Your Business Matters Show, the place where your host, Kevin Yoon, shines the spotlight on industry leaders to discover the power of business matters, to share the insight that can positively impact your bottom line. Success is not about knowing your business matters. It is what you're doing with what you know. Turn up the sound and get ready for Your Business Matters Show. Here's your host, Kevin Yoon.
You built your business and things are great. But how do you plan for the future and protect your hard-earned assets and, more importantly, create tax-efficient wealth? And who can truly help you? My guest today experienced the pain and frustration of not having the right advice and not knowing where to find qualified advisors to help him run his business years ago. Milan Topolovec is the founder and CEO at TK Financial and the owner of Inner Orbis. As a former CFL football player, he understood what protecting your assets was all about. Today, we're going to be diving into how to look at taking your business into the future and helping you grow from where you are right now. Milan, thanks for joining me today.
Thank you. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, listen, you and I have spoken a few times, and every time I speak to you, I always learn something. And the last time was like the aha moment, and it was really about kind of like your role. And we're going to start with the analogy, team sports, right? There's the owner and the coach. And you're kind of that coach that helps put all these assets into place, right? But where does it stem from? Like, how does that analogy really come into place? And where did you get started? Because I know you've had some struggles along the way.
When I opened up my own business a long time ago, I had no advice. It's like everybody else would say, hey, I'm good at something, I'm going to do this. So when you start your own business, as many people do, you just go out and you do what you think is right. And often, brand new business people, they say, well, I don't want to spend the money on a good accountant. I don't want to spend the money on a lawyer. I don't want to spend the money on this. I don't want to spend the money on that, because they're all basically almost focused on building the business, where in fact they should get the best possible help they can. Because the problem comes into when you don't do that, you lose money. You make mistakes. I've made probably most of them. From one thing to the other, taxes. You forget about the taxes that are going to be coming due. And you go, wait a minute, how's this going to happen? You got expenses going. You got personal cash flow, business cash flow. So having the right team. So being a team player, as a coach, what I do is I put the right players in place at the right time to make sure that they help you. You are the team owner. I report to you. So clients typically will come into the office and they'll say, Milan, I need this done. Bring in your lawyer, bring in your accountant, let's bring in a banker, let's bring in a business coach if required. So that's to basically build a team. So people say to me, well, should I have a board of directors? No, have a board of advisors. Doesn't cost too much, maybe a meal. So you set up, most businesses don't do that. So they take off, instead of saying, okay, I want a board of advisors, people I trust and respect that can help me. There are so many people out there like me that are willing to mentor and help.
Now I'm going to cut you off here, because you've been called sometimes and you get frustrated with people go, oh, you're the insurance guy. You're the insurance guy, right? But you're so much more than the insurance guy. Like you come in and you just talked now about being a coach and, with the owner and stuff. But I really want to dive into this piece of people understanding that all these pieces, they all work. A lawyer works, the accountant works, insurance works, right? Tax person, like all that stuff works.
For sure.
But when you're on the other side and you say, I got to handle all these relationships and I need to know who's telling me the truth. Who's like, the lawyer goes, well, you got to be like this. The accountant goes, yeah, but you got to need this. Insurance guy goes, yeah, you need this. And then you've left money on the table. And I know you've had some horror stories with some of these things, right? Like I want people to understand the importance of having a guy. And really, it's almost like I'm going to use your football terms. You were on the O-line. You had to protect that quarterback. Right?
Like it's like, man,
and they're like, if you're a business owner and you're going, man, I want to do something with my business. If you haven't got somebody that's going to protect you and run that O-line and let you do what you want to do with that football, you're done.
Yeah, look at the games. Look at last night Cleveland played, and if the quarterback's not protected, he's getting sacked, play in, play out. You're not moving down the field. So my job is to make sure we're moving down the field. Often business owners will say, Milan, I'll bring my accountant, I'll bring my lawyer, but you're the one driving it. So the key factor is being able to have know the soft facts, as well as I'm a trust and estate practitioner. I go to Toronto, I'm part of STEP. So what I've done is educated myself, but having probably easily a couple hundred business clients easily, I've seen it all. So I've seen when it's done right. The first time when I ask a client, does your accountant and lawyer, are they ever in the same room with you doing your plan? I can guarantee you 99.9% of the time, they're never.
That's true. Actually, I've heard that, Milan. Most of them go, no, my accountant, I'll meet my accountant and I'll meet my lawyer. I'm not going to put them in this. They don't think about being in the same room. Talk about some of the benefits there. Like, why is that so key?
It's so key. First of all, you save premium, you save dollars, you save dollars on billables. Efficiency. There aren't 18 emails going back and forth. Egos are aside. You are the show. It's not them. They may be very good at what they do, but you are the show. But I've seen it at times where there's posturing going on, where I say, listen, put the egos aside. It's the client. He or she's the one that's the center of the universe. Once we get that done, I've done reorgs where a client says, Milan, I go there for an insurance audit, and people say, you're right. If you get my insurance card, you go, that's all this guy knows. Far from it. I've done M&As. I've helped coach people. I've helped mentor people. I put people in touch with people. I've even helped companies sell bomb suits in Croatia. It was my client.
We're going to dive into that. Go ahead. I want to know about that.
So to me is, being the fact that I'm able to do all these things, what I also do is network. I wrote a book, Beyond the Tipping Point. And for people that aren't aware of, they think networking is going to a function, backslapping, give you a business card, take off, go see somebody else without talking to you. That's not networking. So Inner Orbis was a part of it because I started like that. Nobody was there to train me and say, Milan, this is what you do. You go to a business function, pick 3 people you want to know, spend time with them, never mind the rest, and focus on that. So my book talks about how to put the pieces together. So think of it, you want to paint basically, you have a bunch of puzzle pieces in front of you, and you say, okay, what am I putting together? I have no picture. I help clients create a picture and put those puzzle pieces together, so at the end, we have exactly what you want. So I'm not going against lawyers. I work with lawyers. I work with accountants. And when I need to, I bring in specialists. It's like saying, okay, I need Wayne Gretzky to score this goal. I'll bring Wayne in. Only for the goal.
You're not the insurance guy.
The client maintains the relationship with their advisors. It's not the point of let's get rid of your advisors. Right. The problem with business people, and me being one, I have a number of companies I'm involved with, is to have that quarterback. If I'm dealing with daily issues, I don't have time to deal with all this other stuff. So how do you bring your lawyer in? How do you bring the accountant in? I got to bring the banker. Oh, you have $1 million of cash in your corp. Hey, by the way, it's not creditor proof. Why aren't we moving this out? Sending it back to you secured only second to CRA and basically banks. Like, it's just simple stuff. The problem is getting the advisors all on the same page and having somebody to drive it. Could be your lawyer, could be the accountant, could be a person like myself or an advisor that's comfortable in all these areas.
Because you've got, okay, so this is really good because one of the things that I know a little bit about what you do is, like, you know, we talk about estate planning, you talk about insurance, you talk about the tax factor, but the reality is it's almost like you take a step back and go, look, before I give you this silo solution, before I go, here, I'm going to sell you some insurance, we need to go, where are you going? What's that future? You know, we kind of started the show off like, what is it? It's that future of the business, right? And most people get in today. Hey, I'm successful today, Milan. I'm making money today. But what happens in a year, 18 months, you know, like 2 years from now? The kids are getting older, business partner, somebody wants out. Like, there's a lot of variables that I think, and you've taught me this, is like, not one person, like in the insurance will know. Not one person, the lawyer will know. Well, not one person. You better have the background. And you've been doing this, what, 35 years now?
Yeah. That's
So,
right.
I mean, this is why I'm bringing you on because as the audience and people who follow us, especially in Canada, I mean, what's important about what Milan does is he brings in his expertise, his certifications, his training, not just, oh yeah, we do this in our company and I'm going to promote my company to you. Milan, listen, you got to talk about that. How often do you really helping people and not even the company's benefiting? It's because you're like, and talk maybe a bit of your struggle and how you got to where you are.
Well, we started off with I played football, got an insurance business, knew nobody in Ottawa, 0 people. I worked to the point where I easily thousands of people that I do know, and it's not a name. It's people I can turn to. Often what I do is I network, put the gentleman I had lunch with, I'm putting him in together with the gentleman I introduced you today to, because I see a fit. So they get me for the other stuff, but they also, often people don't realize I provide much more than that. I'm a network. I have a network, and I allow that network to intertwine. So my objective is not just to make sure your wealth is protected. I've never sold an investment product in my life, and I never will. I own a division that does it. If what they do doesn't fit the client's need, I have others. So I basically say, okay, you're going to see this person, you're going to see this person. I'm in the meeting. I'm in that meeting. I tell you what that advisor is like. I tell the advisor your story, not your personal finances, just personality. He's got 3 kids. She's got 2 kids. So it's the soft skills. Do you know why people don't do estate planning?
No, go ahead.
Number 1, they don't think they're rich enough. They say it's only for the rich. The second part is they don't want to deal with dying or becoming sick. So they're going, I'm not dealing with this stuff. And third, the most is family issues. They put their head in the sand like an ostrich. So what happens is and today with blended families, there's issues. So they don't want to, these are the 3 primary reasons that they don't. So to get them to stop and say, okay, wait a minute, let's take a look. Just this week I'm talking to a new client, and I said, you know how in families there's kids in the business? He goes, I got 4. I goes, I bet you one thinks he should or she should take over, and he starts laughing. He goes, you're right. I said, okay, so how do you feel about that? I said, does he know that you don't want him to take over? He goes, no. So he goes, I'm going to have you help me with that too. So the key factor is when it comes to planning. So if you say, okay, I want investments, I'm not your person, but I can tell you what, I'll put you in front of a Wayne Gretzky. And the big thing with advisors is the personality. What's their personality? Because I can give you somebody that's amazing at their knowledge, but you may say, this guy's arrogant as heck. He rubs me the wrong way. So rarely am I wrong as to the advisor.
So this goes back to the beginning when we said, the owner and the coach. The coach has to know what players can go together, who fits in the locker room, is the water boy or the equipment manager fitting in and causing a rub, or are they actually complementing and making things easier and better? Like you touch almost all surfaces, right? Now I want to digress and go back when you start. Like I'm going to go back to when you were a kid.
Yeah.
I mean, your story, people have to understand, you have success today, and they're probably sitting there going, oh, that's easy for this guy to say. Look at him. He's successful, owns a couple of businesses, sits on boards. That's great. But your journey was, oh, my God, I think it'll hit rock. You got to tell it. Just tell it, man, just like how it started.
I grew up in Croatia on a village, 2 weeks of age. My parents, because they couldn't afford to keep me, my father worked in Germany. My mother worked in Zagreb, Croatia. I grew up with a grandmother on a dirt floor. One kitchen stove that was the heater and everything. There was no central air. There was nothing. The bathroom was probably dreaded 40 yards away behind the house. No running water. Food was at a minimum. I go to these fancy restaurants today and I see polenta. I want to kill myself. I ate that stuff for morning, breakfast, lunch, supper. In the morning you either had it with milk and sour cream. At lunch you had it with grease and onions fried up. At supper, if you had a piece of meat, you needed a magnifying glass to find it. So And again, I guess I was probably 7 years old, waking up at 4 in the morning to walk in front of the oxen while my uncle was plowing the fields. So that was my beginning. And subsequently, you come to Canada, land of plenty, and thank God we live in a great country. So went to school, went to university, and I never thought I was going to get an insurance business. But between that, we lived in a little town called Acton. On a Saturday, my parents and I were going to watch Greece play Croatia in a soccer game in Toronto. We're passing a car, and the guy wouldn't let us get back in our lane. At 70 miles an hour, car comes from the other side, head-on accident. I'm the only one that survived. And there was no psychologist, there was nothing. I was 14 and a half. I went to Hamilton. My uncle adopted me. Thank God I had a relative in Canada. There was no will. Here's the story. No will. Because they were immigrants. Nobody talked to them about insurance, about planning. I had to go through Children's Aid. Ugh. They said, do you want to stay with your uncle or do you want to go back to former Yugoslavia? I'm going, are you out of your mind? Like, people didn't understand where we came from and how strict it was. Over there, you couldn't even say you saw your teacher in church. If you did at school, she would lose her job. So we moved to Hamilton, and thank God for sports. There was no psychologist. I was training with a guy that was in the Olympics for track in grade 5. So I get to school. I didn't know what football was. I put the kidney pads backwards. The tailbone was going to be in the front, and I saw somebody being laughed at. I go, no, it's got to be the other way. So knew nothing about football, and I decided I wanted to play pro football. But I also played semi-pro soccer, wrestled, football, basketball, and track. That's what I did. I played 5 sports in the first year so that I could forget the pain of losing my parents. So luckily, my uncle and my aunt and their family adopted me, and I was very fortunate to have a loving family. But it's not easy. So I understand what happens when things go wrong. There was no insurance. My father worked at a car plant for Springs in Milton. I mean, there's $7,000 or whatever. So I went through school. I would take on any job that I could to put myself through. So we would play a football game at University of Ottawa. I'm a GG alumni. And in the afternoon and nighttime, I'd be working at the disco as a door person. Or university, they would put desks for exams. I'd get the call, can you do this? Absolutely. So I understand what it's like to work hard and do stuff. Where the sadness comes in, where I see people that are abused, it's either they don't have the right advice or wrong advice or no advice. All these 3 things are bad. So part of my being was developed out of the necessity of saying, wait a minute, my clients are asking me for stuff. Like I asked them, do you have a trust? Oh, I have a trust. Do you know how a trust works? No. And so the idea is to give more. So when I used to give my business card as, here's TK Financial, they go, I was an insurance guy. I meet a guy about 4 or 5 months ago, he goes, oh, you're an insurance guy. I goes, yeah, that's one of the things we do. Then when I explain it to him, he goes, okay, I'll hire a fee for service. How much? So again, my idea is give you more than you expect. And because I am multifaceted, I don't need to know everything about trust. I have the guy that wrote the book last 3 years for trust as a client. Okay? Yeah. He's a lawyer for the lawyers and accountants. Yeah. So when I see a client has a U.S. issue, and in Canada, especially here, high tech, we got people where they're like, let's say your mother's a U.S. citizen. You don't realize you're a U.S. citizen. Or I had a guy that, forgot his accountant didn't file taxes in the U.S. IRS doesn't like that too much.
Right. And so I want to jump in here because I had you tell this story so that, as we're listening to this, is to understand that there are so many different variables that happen in people's lives. We all think in these isolated silos, right? We go accounting, lawyer. And why I brought in this is because here's your background of the struggles and frustrations that you had to deal with and figure things out on your own. It's a mindset. If I had someone on my team that knew how to figure things out, I'm laughing. Versus somebody who's been kind of like jaded or tainted, I'll say, like in this, well, this is the only way to do it. You're like, No, there's not just one way. We're going to find the right way. But for you, it might be go this way instead of that way. We're going to zig instead of zag. And I look at how you go. You don't walk in and go, oh, here's the candied or the fixed answer. You don't go and go here, cookie cutter, right? Here's the cookie cutter. Here it is. It's for you. Oh, by the way, it's the same for everybody. It's not the same for everybody. And that's what you've been teaching me is it's not. We got to know where you sit today. If we want to go, and let's go into the future now a little bit. In 2-3 years, some of the crap that's coming down the pipeline. And if you're not ready for it, maybe just chime in a little bit about that, because I know you, and a little bit about the book you got, like Beyond the Tipping Point, right?
Yeah. So about what's coming down the pipe, you look at tax changes are changing all the time for business owners. Basically is passive income rules, income splitting between spouses. This stuff is serious stuff. So you got to make sure that you're covered off. So having a good accountant that's actually talking to you, we're not at year end to say, oh, by the way, you've paid your taxes. Thank you very much. Sign this thing. And there are a lot of good accountants out there as anything and good lawyers. So the idea as a business owner is to say, okay, what do I need to do to bulletproof my business? So it could be insurance as well. So I'm not selling insurance. Think of insurance as a vehicle. It gets you from point A to point B. I got a tax liability. How am I going to deal with this? I have 3 business partners. How am I going to buy out that business partner if she becomes sick or she dies? Am I going to use after-tax dollars to buy her? Do I have the money? Does the company have the money? So talking to business people all the time, you're right, Kevin, there's so many moving parts, but being able to decipher, say, okay, like that book I read, about essentialism, what's important now? So you want to sell your business. So I say, okay, Kevin, when do you want to sell it? No, we don't sell it today. Let me bring in a person that sells businesses. We're going to, over the next 2 years, your business is worth $3 million. I do this. Next, over 2 years, we're going to prepare your business and it's going to be worth X times. So the key factor is many business people, like they go, I want to sell my business. Really? How much do you want? Oh, I want $5 million. What you want and what you get are 2 different things. So the point of it is to get it, is there going to be a share sale? Is there going to be an asset sale? Totally different. I've sold companies. I've sold one of my companies already. So I've been through it. And business owners, a roller coaster. I sat with a friend yesterday, just sold his business, and we're discussing it. Took him 10 years. 10 years. And now he has a check. He goes, we're sitting here, and what do we do now? And that's what I look at when I talk about consulting. People don't talk to people like the roller coaster. When I sold my business, I was elated. I was upset. I was somewhere in between within an hour time frame. But as a business owner, you think, okay, I'm going to get this fat check, put it in my bank account, and I'll be sitting pretty and it's beautiful. I'm going to be going to playing golf. Well, how much golf can you play? Or the other part is where I advise business owners, they'll sell a business and somehow there's always a genius that wants to bring him into another business that has nothing to do with what their skill set is or what they should be doing. I see way too many business owners lose money that way. Investments, why try to shoot the lights out? So you sold your business. Deal with an advisor that's going to protect your asset, makes you a decent return. You don't need to shoot the lights out. But I see it all the time. They make money here. Oh, why don't I invest $2 million into this?
So what do you say if somebody comes to you and says, I totally get the advisor thing. I see the coach. I got your analogy. I like it, right? But I can't see justifying paying you an advisory fee when you're not going to be my accountant, my lawyer, my insurance guy. You're just going to kind of run the ship. What are some things that they're not even thinking about that you can maybe just shed some light on? Because I think, to me, it's critical to have someone like you on the team.
It's true, because they have to either understand, like the clients, the dude come in, like the one that just came in, he goes, okay, just tell me how much. He gets it. So sometimes you get frustrated because they don't get it. They think, well, okay, wait a minute. Listen, for me to amass the team, I've had one file, 19 meetings. And,
wow.
Oh yeah, the accountant, the lawyer, 2 accountants, the lawyer, the two brothers that don't get along. I can't get into details, but the point of it is you get into the soft stuff. So people say, okay, well, you want to deal with that? Okay, you just get your accountant and lawyer into the same room. Who's gonna bring them in? Who's gonna drive the process? And that's the key, being able to drive the process. We sit in meetings, we go, okay, 2 weeks. Can you get this done? Can you get that done? Yes. Okay, we'll reconvene in 2 weeks. I've done reorganizations, 4 meetings, we're done. You're gonna save billable dollars, headache, you can sleep at night and nothing's missed. So is that worth my billable? Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. And at the end of the day, it's probably even worth more of the time of the person that you're going to take care of, because as we talked about at the top of the show, is it's really about the future. And so whatever you do today will dictate and drive what's going to start happening down the road. And I think a lot of people don't realize it's great to be in the moment. I don't want to take that away. You want to be in the moment, right? Moment's important. But you got to do some planning for the 1 year, 5 year, 10 years from now, might even longer. Like if you're looking going, I want to take care of my next generation. And for you being that advisor to say, okay, now we're going to settle down and go, where are you going in your head? And you probably can drive it. I'm not going to ask the questions to myself that you would ask me.
Well, the other part is, you meet a client and I'm there for an insurance audit, we have a TK insurance audit trademark. I've saved clients over $100,000 in premium per year.
Those are not small payments, but
another client, we saved $4.5 million because his insurance wasn't properly set up. The corporation owned it. The beneficiaries were the shareholders. I see stuff. So it's not that simple. You got to look at the tax. You got to look at transferring a policy out of a corporation is a taxable event. And people. So I meet with a client, brand new, and starts with an insurance audit. Next thing you know, he says, well, we're going to give my nephew third of this. And I go, how do you like paying tax right now? He looks at me, both two brothers look at me and go, what do you mean? That's a disposition. You can't just give stuff. People still today, some think that you can gift shares of a business. I'm going to just give it to you as my son. Doesn't work that way. So when we talk about rollovers, we talk about taxes. On death, what happens? Okay, you have a spouse. As long as you're married, you have a spouse. Everything rolls over to her when she passes away. So even insurance, let's say you have a spouse and you have a big tax liability. So I said, okay, Kevin, I'm going to insure you for $10 million or $1 million. And I go, okay, so Kevin's going to pay the premium alone. That's ridiculous. If you have a proper will, proper structure, taxes are paid on second death. You buy a joint last to die policy, you just saved yourself 40% of yearly premium and achieve exactly what you want to do.
Wow. That's like right there, my mind just went, oh my gosh, I know what I don't know. I just realized that I don't know this is massive, right? Milan, this has been great. Where can people find it? Learn more about you.
At TK Financial in Ottawa or Inner Orbis. If they want to just chat, meet, even just chat on the phone, I have no issues. It's about relationships. I'm a relationship guy, as you can probably tell.
Yeah, I love it. Listen, we'll have to have you back on because there's so much more to talk about and stuff. And your story's riveting and it's inspiring and it shows that what is possible. Just because we have struggles in life doesn't mean that you cannot advance. It doesn't mean you can't grow. It can't mean you can't be the best you can be. And you're a testament to it, and you probably make a stand for your clients that way. So I appreciate you taking the time today and being on the show. It's a great job.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
All right. Thanks, everyone. Catch you next time here on Your Business Matters Show.